It was an ordinary evening, or at least it started that way. I had just returned from a long day at work, drained and ready to collapse into the solitude of my apartment. The city outside my window buzzed with life, horns blaring and neon signs flashing, but all I wanted was silence. I had grown used to being alone, almost too used to it. Then came the knock, a soft, hesitant tapping at my door. At first, I thought it was a neighbor, maybe someone complaining about the leaky pipes or the noise from upstairs. But when I opened the door, what I saw froze me. Standing there was a boy, no more than 9 years old, with wide, searching eyes. His clothes were worn, his hair unkempt, and yet there was something hauntingly familiar about him. "Are you Daniel Reed?" he asked, his small voice trembling. "Yes," I replied, cautious. "Who are you?" The boy swallowed hard, tears brimming in his eyes. "You're my father," he whispered, "from another life." I'll admit, my first reaction was disbelief. My stomach tightened. I thought perhaps this child was confused, lost, or even playing some cruel trick. But his gaze held something I couldn't explain. It was as if he knew me in ways even I didn't know myself. "Listen, kid," I started carefully. "I think you're mistaken. I don't have any children." But he shook his head firmly. "You don't in this life. But before, you did. And you promised me you'd find me again." Those words, simple, innocent, impossible, pierced straight through me. I brought him inside, unsure what else to do. He sat on my couch, legs dangling, eyes wandering around the apartment, as if searching for traces of the man he once knew. His name, he told me, was Aiden. He had no memory of his parents in this life. He was living in a foster home, moving from one place to another, always feeling out of place, always searching. Until last week, when he said he began dreaming. "Dreams of you," he said softly, "but not like you are now. You were different. You were happy. You held my hand and you told me, no matter where life takes us, I'll always find you." And then I saw your face and I knew where to go. I didn't believe in reincarnation. I barely believed in love anymore, let alone souls crossing lifetimes. But as he spoke, something strange stirred inside me, a recognition, a pull, as if my soul leaned forward, whispering, what if he's right? Over the weeks that followed, Aiden kept coming back. Sometimes with small sketches he drew of me, versions of me that I had never been, yet somehow looked familiar. Sometimes with little details about habits I had that I never told anyone. How I tapped my fingers when I was deep in thought, how I always hummed under my breath while cooking, how I hated thunderstorms but pretended to be brave. How could he know? The walls around my heart, walls I had built after years of loneliness and disappointments, began to crack. Against my better judgment, I started caring. I found myself cooking for him, helping him with homework, listening to his laughter fill the rooms that had long been silent. But with care came fear. One evening, as he packed up his little backpack, he looked at me and asked, "Will you leave me again?" The question struck me like a blade, because deep down, I didn't want to let him down. Not in this life. Not ever. But challenges came quickly. Word spread in his foster home that Aiden had been visiting me. The social worker confronted me, her tone sharp with suspicion. "Mr. Reed, why is this child spending so much time here? You're not his relative, not his guardian." I tried to explain. I tried to say that Aiden wasn't just some boy off the street, that he felt like family in ways I couldn't describe. But in the eyes of the law, I was a stranger. They threatened to stop Aiden from visiting altogether. That night, I sat in the dark, my hands trembling. For the first time in years, I had felt something alive in my chest, something worth fighting for, and now I was about to lose it. And then I remembered his words. "You promised you'd find me again." So I fought. I applied to foster him, even though the process was grueling, filled with background checks, home visits, endless paperwork. People questioned my motives. Some laughed at the absurdity of a man suddenly wanting to foster a child he claimed was his son from another life. But I pushed through every obstacle, because somewhere deep inside, I knew this wasn't coincidence. I didn't know if I believed in past lives, but I believed in the bond we shared. And sometimes, belief itself is enough to carry you through. Months later, after countless struggles, I was finally approved. Aiden moved in officially. That first night, as he unpacked a few belongings he had, I tucked him into bed. He looked up at me with eyes full of trust. "See," he whispered, "you found me." Tears burned in my eyes. I reached out, brushing the hair from his forehead, my voice breaking. "No, Aiden, you found me." Life wasn't suddenly perfect. There were tantrums, school challenges, nights where fear of abandonment crept back into his heart. And there were days I doubted myself, days I wondered if I was enough to heal the wounds life had given him. But through it all, we learned together. We laughed, we fought, we forgave. We built a home out of broken pieces. And slowly, I realized something profound. It doesn't matter if we lived 1,000 lives before this one. What matters is the one we're living now. and the choice we make to love here and today. Years later, when people ask me why I chose to foster a boy who appeared at my doorstep, I smile and tell them the truth. Because love has a way of finding us, even when we don't believe we deserve it. Sometimes, it comes knocking at your door, disguised as a child who remembers promises you never knew you made. And the message I carry with me always is this: we may not control where we come from or what lives we've lived before, but we can choose what we do with the life we have now. We can choose to show up, to love, to fight for someone who believes in us. And in doing so, we just might save not only their soul, but our own. Sparkle's final message for viewers. This story reminds us that love transcends explanation. Sometimes the people we are meant to cherish come into our lives in the most unexpected ways. The real question is, when love knocks at your door, will you open it?